What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Janique TV. My name is Janique, and I'd like to thank you so much for tuning into my video today. Before we even get started, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because why wouldn't you? You're here, you might as well. After that, I would love for you to like my video on the way in, and then I want you to make sure you click the notification bell so you can make sure that you don't miss an episode of what I'm doing here. Today, I want to talk about experiencing God. And what an experience with God really feels like, and how do you know you're experiencing God? I think a lot of the times we could tell people that something happened to us, and then they try to tell us what they think happened. Like, no. I went through it, so I know exactly what I went through. You know, you can't tell me what I went through. Only I can tell you, really, right? Well, I guess I'm telling you right now, but you know, we learn it from each other. So, there's 6 steps, I think, to really experiencing God or knowing God. And I want to make sure that you know how these steps go, and then you know which step you're kind of on right now, or if you even had any of these steps. And I want you to know it's okay if you haven't experienced God before, but I want you to know that it's amazing to experience Him. And I would love for you to do that. So let's just jump into it. So I think the first step to experiencing God is definitely an encounter with God, or an encounter with the Lord. I don't think you can create this encounter. I think God will create the encounter when He is ready for you. You know, God is pretty funny. He definitely has a sense of humor. If you think He don't, you're mistaken. Like, He is hilarious. Like, some of the stuff He be doing, I'd be like, yo, you cutting up. You're really funny. But God definitely has a sense of humor. So God, you can't really box Him in. And that's some of the things that He is trying to make people break out of. You cannot box Him in. You won't ever know the total capacity of what God is, because He is so vast, and He's so creative, and He is so innovative, and He is so intentional, and He's so strategic. So, these words, I love these words. So He's a lot of things. So we cannot really box Him into one certain thing. So encountering God is going to be different for everybody, but I just want to talk about a little bit about how I encountered God the first time, right? And let me be clear, I've always had God. I grew up in the church, and I can't believe I'm even on here talking about this stuff. I grew up in the church, and I don't know if I ever really believed, right? Until I had the opportunity to believe for myself. You know, I think God approaches us at our most vulnerable moments because He wants the relationship with you. There's so many things that we go through throughout our life where He's trying to pull you closer to Him, and you're not really realizing it. You just think it's life. Like, no, it's not life beating you up. It's God calling you. So, an encounter with the Lord. So my first real encounter with the Lord, where I really understood that God was talking to me, was last summer, actually. Last summer, I actually had a situation with a guy that I was dating, and it's so interesting how the people who come into our lives are either meant to hold us back from what we're supposed to do, or they're either meant to push us forward to where we're supposed to be. So this guy in particular was meant to push me forward. So we were seeing each other, but there was a while where I really wasn't really interested. He was interested in me or pursuing me. And, you know, it took a trip for us to go on together, for us to really get to know each other, and me to be like, okay, this guy's not that bad. Like, he's actually pretty interesting. And I started liking him on the trip. But that's how it goes. When you go on a trip with somebody, you spend so much quality time with that person, you get to know them a lot better. Because for real, y'all don't be liking people because y'all don't spend enough time with them. How can you really tell you like somebody and you see them once a month? That doesn't even make any sense. Like, you clearly don't like them. So that's what he was thinking, that I didn't like him. But I spent some time with him on a trip, and then we got to know each other, and we formed a bond. So let me fast forward a little bit. So the night that I encountered God was actually a night that I figured out this guy was not for me. So when I got this YouTube channel, or when I made it, I was like, I'm not going to tell my business, but I have to tell my business. There's no way for me to be as personal as I want to be with you guys and not tell my business, but whatever. Like, I don't care. Whatever, let me just open up. So I had a friend or homegirl who I don't really talk to her anymore, but she got invited to a party at the guy that I was dating house. Like, it was his house, but there was another guy that invited her. So she called me. She was like, you know, so-and-so is having a party at his house tonight. I said, no, he's not. She was like, yes, he is. Like, I just got invited by so-and-so. And I was like, well, what's going on? She was like, what you trying to do? You trying to go? I said, duh, you know, we pulling up. So I went and picked her up. We got cute, whatever, and we went. But before we went to the party, she had an edible in her house. And let me have a background story on this. with this guy that I was dating, I smoked so much with him and I took so many edibles, like in one sitting. We used to do that in one sitting. So I know I can handle weed or edibles. Like that's not something for me that makes me trip or makes me freak out. Like I don't ever had any bad trips or anything. I don't ever have any bad trips or anything on edibles. So she was like, there's an edible out there. She was talking about how bad of an experience she had on this same edible, but I had these nerve ropes before. And I was like, man, I done took like 4 or 5 of them in a night with this dude. So I know like I'll be okay. So she was like, well, go ahead and take it. I said, I'm gonna only eat half, right? So I ate half of the edible. We go to the party and his home is like downtown. So you have to like get access to the building. So he has to come down and get you, right? He comes down to get her, but I'm with her, right? So he like, I know that ain't Janique. So I'm like, he was like, why you didn't tell me you was coming over? I was like, why didn't you tell me you was having a party? And he like, this is not my party. It's my homeboy party. Like, you know how dudes lie. Like they lie straight to your face. So I'm like, okay. So I go upstairs. So I'm here to peep the scene. I got to see what's going on because I am not afraid to find out what's really going on. I love for stuff to be exposed. So again, this is about my encounter with God. So let me just tell y'all how I lead up to it. So I took an edible or half of this nerves rope, and this girl, I posted it on Instagram, and this girl responds to my post like, oh girl, you need to stay away from them. Last time I had one, I was stuck in a corner like crying out to God, right? So that was so interesting to me when she said it. I was sitting on the couch because we went upstairs to the dude's crib, and I was sitting on the couch like, what? That's interesting. Like the way she said it, it hit me differently that day. Like I thought it was funny at first, but then I got a voice that popped up in my head that said, you need to leave. So I'm like, I said this in a previous video. I always thought the first time I heard God speak, like really heard him, was going to be a big boisterous voice calling down to me from the heavens, or the heavens was going to part and open up, and then this voice was going to come down. I don't know what I ever thought it was going to be, but it wasn't that. So I heard a voice say to me, I need to go home. So when I went upstairs, he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, or he had some people in there he wasn't supposed to have in there. So I saw all I needed to see anyway. So I knew if I had stayed any longer anyway, I was going to show my behind. And what I refuse to do is let a guy get me out of character like that. You know what I'm saying? Because if you show me something and I know I ain't even gonna deal with it, like I might as well just go ahead and cut ties. I'm not gonna let you even get my energy like that, because that's what people feed off of. And I think it hurts a person more for you to act like you don't care than for you to, feed into what they're doing. Because he lied to my face anyway. He's sitting right there in there lying to my face in front of the girl. And I'm like, she just sitting there. I'm like, these women, I just can't be that type of woman. I'm not that desperate where I'm just going to let a guy disrespect me in front of my face, you know what I'm saying, and sit there and take it when he's clearly with somebody else. I don't understand. So she didn't care and I did, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, why don't you care that I'm here? Like this should be a problem for you. But anyway, he acted like that wasn't his person. I might cut most of this off, but anyway, I saw all I needed to see, so I left, right? When I leave, me and my homegirl having a conversation, but she wasn't there for me like I thought she should be. I'm strong, so when you're strong, people don't let you, get emotional, and people don't let you do a lot of things that they would other people, their softer friends, whatever. So because I'm a stronger friend, I don't have a lot of people that allow me to be emotional or vulnerable around them. So I couldn't get in that night. I had to go home and do it by myself. So I dropped her off and I started riding home. And the whole way home, I was freaking out. Like I was like, there's no way this nerves rope is hitting me hard like this. I only ate half, and I have never tripped off an edible like this, like ever. So I'm just praying. And I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't praying at the time. Like that wasn't something I was even into. So the whole way home, I'm like, God, please, if you get me home, like I promise, like I will never do this again. Like I will never give myself to somebody like that again, because there were so many things that I knew was wrong about him, and I still would engage in it because of what kind of benefits I was getting out of it. And that's a lot of the things that women do, you know what I'm saying? We could know a situation is not for us, but because the benefits are there, we stay in that situation. So he was buying my love. So I'm like, God, please get me home. Like this ain't even important to me. Like I'm just praying the whole way home so I get home safe and sound, right? But I was tripping. So when I got home, I'm tripping even more, right? And this is when I encounter God, right? God comes to me, and he comes to me in a way that I did not expect him to come to me, because again, I expected to hear this voice call from the heavens, and this was something different. This was like inside of me. And this voice that is inside of me is telling me all the things. Basically, it's like running down all the things in my head that I need to be grateful for, and running down all the situations in my head that he delivered me out of, and running down all the situations that I should have died, or situations where I should have been homeless, or situations where I should have perished, or situations where I should have been, I shouldn't have been, or situations where I should not have been as far along in life as I was that day. You know what I'm saying? So it was just such a humbling experience for me. And then it could, and this is going to lead me into the next step, right? Revelation. When God revealed himself to me that night, I was so shocked because I did not expect that to happen to me. At the end of the day, a lot of us shy away from God because we don't think we're worthy. We do so many things in our lives that we know are not right. And we think like, God does not call on me. He would never call on me because of the things that I'm doing. Like, why would he want somebody like me to do it? Like, I can't even name out the things that I was doing. I'm not, and when I say the things that I'm doing at the time, there are things that we think are okay that are not okay. So it's not like I was, running the streets or being a prostitute or anything like that. But I just wasn't living the life that I should have been living. So, hence I was dating somebody. Again, I just told you I was dating somebody for the wrong reasons. So, revelation is important. That's step number 2, revelation. So God revealed himself to me, and God revealed all the things to me that I needed to change immediately, right? And he told me to make a list. So when he told me to make a list, I'm over there freaking out because I just had never had an experience like that. Like, I'm like, oh my God. So he tells me to make a list. He tells me to change my phone number. He tells me so many things that night. And he starts calling out my sins, right? So this is going to lead me to my third step, is conviction. I was convicted about the things that I was doing, and I was not doing the right things. I think one thing I can't call out is homosexuality. Like, I was messing with girls at the time. So that's one thing. I was having premarital sex. I was, and let me say, your walk with God is so different because God forgives you, and he knows what you're going to do before you even do it, but he forgives you. So as long as you understand that he forgives you, you're going to make mistakes, and a mistake is a bad decision. You're going to make mistakes. So I just want to throw that in there right there. There was a lot of things that I was doing at the time that he was convicting me about that I knew was wrong already. These things that I had never done in my life, but I had started indulging and engaging in them, down to masturbation, watching porn or anything like, or watching porn and stuff like that. Like, he was convicting me. So after getting convicted and making a list of the things that I needed to change and things that I need to stop doing and things that I need to start doing, next he tells me to believe that that's the encounter that I'm having with him. Like, I need to stop acting like this is unheard of, right? I couldn't believe it was happening to me, but he was with me. He hasn't left me since. So he hasn't left me since. And that night, my whole life took a pivot that night. I didn't even want to get on here and cry. I didn't even expect to cry about this, but my makeup looks so good, I don't even want to let it come out. But yeah, the story is funny, guys, but when God calls you, really calls you to do something, to be better than you're being, it's humbling, right? And it's scary because it's so comfortable to be in the skin that you're already in. It's so comfortable to not change. It's so comfortable to be the worst version of yourself and to let people use and take advantage of you because it's just fun. It's so comfortable to live in sin because it's fun. It's so comfortable to not walk the narrow path. It's comfortable. It's harder to do what I'm doing right now. It's so much harder. So that night changed my whole life. And it was just so simple. It was as simple as taking a half of the edible. And my steps are already preordained. So if I didn't do that at night, who knows how long it would have took me to even come into the knowledge of God or to come into the knowledge of who I was. God picks the people that you would not even expect him to pick, for real. Because when even still after he called me, I'm still like, there's no way you want me to get on here and talk about you. There's no way you want me to. How can I talk about you after all the things that I said to the public in my songs? Like, how can I get on here and say things, you know, to convict other people about what they're doing when I'm still not perfect? And he wants me to do it anyway. You know, I get up in the morning and I don't even want to. Lord, give me strength. I don't want to act like I don't want to do this, right? Because that's not true at all. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that I can't believe that this is what he's calling me to do. Like, this is the last thing that I thought I'd be doing on earth. And there's so many other things I could get on here and talk about all day, but to talk about God, that's a huge part of my day. God is the most important part of my day. God is the most consistent thing in my life right now. Like, I don't commit to anything. I don't commit to anything, but to commit to God was a whole different walk for me. And to commit to Jesus, let me say that, because a lot of people are saying the name God, but people are not calling out the name Jesus. I committed to Jesus. I heard everything he said to me that night. I shared it with the friend that I had went to the party with that night, and she kept telling me that I was tripping. That's what she kept, and it really broke my heart for real. That was a change of our friendship that night. That night, our friendship just started to dwindle away, or to slither. Our friendship that night, it started to, you know, break apart that night, because it's so crazy how when you tell somebody something, they don't believe you. I've given you every reason in the world to trust everything I say, and you encountered it with me because you were on the phone with me. I had to call her. He told me to call her, and I think he told me to call her only because he wanted me to see who I was around. He definitely wanted me to see that. She's probably watching right now. Ain't no hard feelings, girl. It's all love, but God doesn't want me around everybody. And to share myself with the people that I share myself with, I had to really get on myself that night, get on my knees and pray. And I've been doing it ever since. For God to come to me that night, I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful, because I don't know where I'd be this year. I don't even know where I'd be right now, because when you start following God, you think immediately your whole life is going to change and everything is going to be so great and so amazing. But when you start following Christ, like, really that's where the test comes in. Because everything you start saying, it has to be tested. And this is not only spiritual, but physical. I think that night was when I stopped living in the physical and started living also in the spiritual. Because spiritual is definitely a place. And my son coming. So when you start following Christ, every day after that is for the fight for your belief. And belief is faith, right? It's for you to believe in him, right? Because he showed himself to you and he appeared to you. He doesn't appear to everybody. That's what makes me so special, because he doesn't show himself to everybody. But to show myself approved, I don't know why. Because I'm like, I don't think I'm worthy. I'm not worthy. Why are you coming to me? I want to sit right here and do what I want to do. I want to be, I want to sit right here and do what I want to do. I want to be with who I want to be with. I want to have sex because it's fun. I want to smoke weed 24/7 and get high every day out of my mind. I want to hang around the drug dealers, and I want to, you know, I want to do illegal things, and I don't want to care what anybody else thinks. I don't want to care about other people's feelings. I don't want to, you know, care how I treat people. I don't want to talk to people a certain way. I don't want to. There were so many things that my flesh did not want me to do, and it's so crazy. That's how you know you are wrong. When you start having, in your flesh is selfish and stubborn, because we as people is stubborn anyway. What does God say? We are stiff-necked people. There were so many things where I was like, I don't want to do that. But it's a blessing. And really, I know my life is 10 times better now. I don't know where I'd be if he didn't come to me that night. I don't know who I'd be encountering, what I'd be dealing with. The people that are sent in my life these days are God sent. I promise you, every person that's in my life right now is God sent. Every person who I encounter, who I have encountered since then, was God sent. Every person that has come into my life since that happened has made me pivot to another level. Number 4 is belief. You have to believe in God, believe in Jesus, believe that Christ came to the earth, believe that God was, you know, believe that Jesus was God incarnate, and he came to the earth and he sacrificed himself and died for our sins. And he was, you know, reborn, or he was, you know, brought back to life the next day. What's it called? He was, I don't know what to call it. He came back alive 3 days later, and He sits beside God in the throne of heaven. There's the difference between me and some Christians. Like, they don't believe that Jesus is real. They don't believe that Jesus came and walked the earth as man. They don't believe God came to the earth as a man. He was born and he had a whole human experience just to show us that he can be born just like us and do the things and encounter the things that we encounter and still rise above it, still not sin. You know, he came and didn't sin one time in his whole life. And we can't stop sinning for a period. We can't stop sinning for the rest of it. Like, all the sins that we have done, are we not tired? Are you not tired? Are you not tired of everything that you've been doing? Tired of the same things? Tired of the same life? Tired of the same experiences? Tired of the same beliefs? Like, number 4 is belief. It's definitely is faith. And after your encounter with God, he reveals things to you through revelation, and then he convicts your spirit. And once you're convicted, then you have belief in him. Now, after you believe in God, next comes the hard part, and that's going to be acts of obedience. Because how you going to say you believe God and you don't do anything to show him that you believe in him, right? Because it's almost like sex, right? If I believe in God, how can I say I believe in God, but I still make a point to have sex before marriage, right? I haven't changed my beliefs about that. So what I'm going to say is I have changed my beliefs about that. I absolutely do not want to have sex before marriage. But the hard part is, like, we really on earth and we could say things all the time, but until we really, really, really get tested and pass that test, then it's not going to be real to us. So acts of obedience, that means you're going to start loving your neighbor as you love yourself. You're going to start turning the other cheek when people piss you off. And, you know, instead of slapping somebody in the name of Jesus, you can, you know, politely let them know about themselves. And you don't have to go overboard. You don't have to get violent when things don't go your way. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be, you know, boastful. You don't have to be greedy. You don't have to be vain. So many things that we stop doing when you start following Christ, because it's an act of obedience, right? I fear the Lord, and it's a healthy fear. It's not like I think God is going to come down here and kill me right now, even though I know he possibly could. He definitely could go ahead and literally in my life, I could drop dead on this video right now, but God is so graceful that he has granted me this day. This is the day that he has made for me, so I will rejoice and be glad in it, because I'm still right here living. I'm still right here talking. My spirit is still alive and well. You know what I'm saying? My spirit is doing amazing right now. So, you know, there's so many things he could do for me, but he gives me grace, and no matter what I've done in my life. And there's people who've done things worse than me, but what I've done is what I've done. I can't really sit right here and compare sins, because no sin is greater than the other. I had to stop dealing with girls. You know what I'm saying? I had to stop just having sex, right? I had to be intentional about the sex that I have, because God knows we're human and we were born sinners. So he knows it's going to be a lot harder to stop some things that we have done. So, but I think after the last experience that I had, I know for sure that I'm not having sex until marriage. Like, because every time I'm one of those people, God, when I do something wrong, I always get hit hard. Like, it don't be, some people do something wrong and God might tap their hand. No, I get reprimanded immediately and severely, and my punishment is way worse than a lot of other people's punishment, because I know better. And that's the thing, when you know better, you have to do better, because God reveals things to you, and he reveals a little bit of himself at a time. But when he reveals things to you and you get convicted about it, and you know you're not supposed to be doing it, like, that's when you start really getting hit hard about things that you're doing. So the last step, you know, to experiencing God is going to be results. You start seeing results in your life, right? You don't see them overnight and anything like that, but you see results in the spiritual. It's going to be spiritual before it becomes physical, right? You have to see it in the spiritual realm first. That's why you have to have faith and believe. That's why I say, through my prayer, you said, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, because in heaven, in the spiritual, everything is already happening. You know, these things are already done. Me being on this video right now, I've been supposed to do this forever ago, and who knows how different my life would be this year if I had took that chance when he told me, because I think this encounter with God happened in June of last year. So if I listen to him, but it takes time. You can't just hop in front of people before you're ready to hop in front of people and talk about the things that you think you know, right? Because that's what was important to me. It's like, God, I don't know the word like that. And when I make these videos, I find myself I know the word more than I thought I did. But that's how it be. Like, you take in so much information, because when you're learning about God, you want to learn so much more. You right? Because you be so hungry to know more about God. Like, I want to know everything there is to know about God, and it's impossible to really know everything there is to know. I think they said if they wrote everything that Jesus had did in terms of miracles, you know what I'm saying? Like, the book would never be this small. So when you're getting all this knowledge, you know, it's hard to retain everything because it's so much knowledge. It's so much to know, but I'm smart. I didn't even know. Let me say, I'm not gonna say I didn't know I was this smart, but God has made me more smarter. God has definitely made me a more intelligent woman. Like, I'm not gonna say I used to dumb myself down to be around people, but I did, right? I think I really did used to dumb myself down. I couldn't have intelligent conversations with people. These people have no depth. These people have no depth. Like, they want to talk about gossip. Like, they want to talk about these things that these people want to talk about. Like, I'm not interested. That's why certain people can't call my phone no more. Like, I don't want to talk about what you want to talk about. That stuff is not interested in me. Let's talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about what God has done in your life lately, what he's going to do. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how God is intentional. That's the stuff I want to talk about. When I can have a conversation with somebody about God, we besties, because that's my bestie. I talk to him every day, just like Kanye said. God is my bestie. Every day we talk. Every day we have a conversation. We're having a conversation right now. I don't even know it. When I watch this back, I'm going to love this. I'm not going to end off with a scripture because I think I talked enough about God today. Not today, because I got some more videos to make, but just in this experience, like, there's certain steps to knowing God. You have an encounter with God. Once you have that encounter with God, you have revelations from God. Once you have the revelations from God, then you have the conviction from God. You know, he convicts you about the things that you're doing. After that, then it's about faith. Do you have faith that the things he says is real? You know, that the things he says are going to come to pass? You know, do you have faith enough to believe in him and to follow the path he has outlined for your life? Or do you want to choose the other side? And actions of obedience is right after that. You know, are you going to be obedient? After you've learned these things, are you going to be obedient? Or are you going to choose to be hard-headed? Are you going to choose the other side? Because if you say you believe in something, but you're not following that way that they've outlined for you, how do you really believe in it? Ask yourself that. And the last is going to be results. You will see results, I promise. You follow God. You do what he wants you to do, because it's what you want to do as well. You don't even know it yet. I didn't think I would enjoy these videos. I love making these videos. I love talking about God. There's nothing that makes my day more enjoyable than talking about this, because I want to find people that relate to me, who love God as much as I do. I'm on fire for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love God. I hate when I'm in a situation where I feel like I can't talk about him, but that's something I'm working on, because I should never feel like I can't talk about him. Like, if I'm talking to somebody and I can't talk about him, I need to stop talking to those people. But I know that already. But God is real. He is great, and he is funny, and he's strategic, and he is intentional, because you didn't even think this video would be about this. And if you lasted this long, God bless you, right? He is definitely with you. He wants to be with you. Invite him in, have a meal with him. I'm telling you, it's not that bad. It's not bad at all, honestly. It's very enjoyable. There's a lot of times I be looking at, like, that's why I don't like getting on Instagram, because when I get on Instagram, I be like looking at the things people are doing. I'm like, I remember when I used to do that. Like, then I got to get out of my head, like, that life you was living was not the life you wanted to live. This life that you're about to live is the life that you want to live. I'm telling you, like, this life right here, it's what you make it, right? So I don't want to be with those people. I be on Instagram shaking my head half the time. Sometimes I be like, damn, I could be on a trip with this person. I could be doing this right now. I could get something from this person. You know what I'm saying? I could be at the mall right now. I could be blowing this. I could have bought this time. You know what I'm saying? And that's just not important to me anymore. And I thank God that he has changed my way of thinking. I was so materialistic at one point. And to change my way of thinking and realize that you can't take these things with you. You can't. Like, who are you doing it for? You're doing it for other people, and you don't even realize it. But once you come into the knowledge of God and you realize that these things are just frivolous things, and these things on earth are just here, they're here to make our experience more enjoyable, but they don't make you happy. Only one thing can really make you happy. Only one thing can really give you peace. Only one thing can really give you joy. And I mean, everlasting, right? Sometimes you're going to have hard times, but as long as you remember God and remember the Lord and remember Jesus Christ and how he died for us and the things that he encountered and he went through, you realize that the stuff you're going through could be much worse. I promise you, it could be much worse. When you start remembering that, I promise you, you'll start smiling again. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you learned something. It's time for you to experience God. It's time for you to experience God. My name is Janique, and I will catch you on my next video. Peace.